It's time to mind your business with me, Jamillah Lodge. Tune in to find out how to mind your business with BEDC, special guest entrepreneurs, industry experts, and more. Brought to you by BEDC. Bermuda business starts here. So welcome to Mind Your Business. I'm your host, Jamillah Lodge, and of course, I'm glad to have you back, Lennox Cumberbatch.
Yes.
So you are the Director of Accounting Services at Abacus Ltd. And today we're going to be talking about how we're going to be working together to help people understand QuickBooks and accounting to some degree. So let's just remind people who may have forgotten you since the last time you were here. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so as I said, my name is Lennox Cumberbatch. Some people call me Lennox. It doesn't matter to me. And I am a CPA. I have been practicing for over 20 years now, so I'm saying that I'm aging myself a little bit. So I've been with Abacus for the last going 8 years now. I lead I'm the team lead, if you want to call it that, in terms of accounting services. And I'm also responsible for recruitment. That's a big part of my job, and client relationships. That has become the number one thing I do these days.
Okay.
Yep.
And so from a standpoint of client relationships, what does that mean when it comes to accounting?
As a firm, I think we do more than just issue reports to clients and tell them, okay, just get your report and go read it and understand it by yourself. We try to build relationships with clients to find out what they need, what are their needs, what are their main concerns, their pain points, and that sort of stuff. If they're satisfied with our service, that's a big part of what I do, is ensuring that the team is giving their clients what they really need on a monthly, semi-annually basis. Yep.
So from the standpoint of who your clientele is, because we work with small businesses, right?
Yes.
So can you talk a little bit about what that client mix looks like?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, our target market is SMEs, small medium-sized businesses, and we work with them mainly. And in regards to what they do, they're in various industries. We have clients that are in retail, construction, not-for-profit is a big niche for us. We have a lot of not-for-profits. I know recently some firms have been moving away from that sector for obvious reasons, but we still hold on to a lot of not-for-profits. And we've also been dabbling in the advisory space as well. And why I say that is because then that broadens our client base. We're not just focusing on SMEs anymore. If there is an advisory project for a larger corporation, we are definitely willing to put together a team that can get into that space as well.
Okay. Yep. I think it's important to talk about kind of the difference, right, between those larger companies and maybe a smaller business, because we often see businesses who want to start up and then they're like, okay, well, I'm going to do all of the financials myself. But the financials are like key to making sure that your business is running as it should. And sometimes I don't think people understand the importance of getting the help when they need it so that they can stay on top of it. Can you talk a little bit about that and what you see when you work with small and medium enterprises?
Well, one of the first things we see when we especially if it's a startup, they're trying to avoid costs. They're trying to avoid additional costs. And what we've seen is that, as you said, they try to do it all themselves. At the end of the day, that might, in the long run, cost more, because then if they're not experienced accountants or finance people, they mess up, for lack of a better word. And then they still have to come back to a firm like us or one of the other firms to get it all fixed, which ends up costing more in the long run than if you had done it good from the start, or best practices from the start. There's what we see. And as well with small businesses, we always see that owners tend to have a challenge balancing what should be priority. They might be most owners are experts, not all, but most of them are experts in the area that they're in.
Right.
And we tend to tell owners, you know what, you focus on where you're the expert, and that's going to generate revenue for your business. The cost is going to be there, but if you look at it, the time that you're spending doing support stuff, you're taking that away from your ability to earn more revenue. So just don't look at the expense of hiring a accountant or someone who's expert in a particular area. Look at what revenue you can earn from the time you save by hiring that person. And in most cases, the net is actually in their favor, and that the revenue they earn is more than the cost they're spending to get that expert in there.
So let me ask you this question, because yes, we hire you, you prepare our financial statements, we have to give them to the bank because they keep asking for them, that sort of thing. But can you talk about the additional support that maybe a accounting firm can provide in terms of advisory and guidance as you look at the financial statements, like you said, making some decisions based on what you're seeing? Do you guys provide that type of support as well?
Yeah, we do. So we break it down into, I would say, two big categories. They're insights and then they're foresights. So the insight is really based on what has already happened. We help you to analyze those historic numbers to determine, okay, how did I do? What was my major costs and that sort of stuff that I incurred, and how did that compare, let's say, to prior period or to a budget? The foresight piece, which is more now going into the advisory break, we help you to understand what should I do in the future, or what steps should I take in order to improve my revenue, in order to reduce my expenses. And that piece is so valuable. Yes, historic numbers are valuable as well, but as a small business that is looking to grow, that foresight piece is actually, in my opinion, more valuable than looking at historic numbers.
I would agree.
Yeah.
So from the perspective of the business owner, right, I'm starting up.
Yeah.
When would you advise me to sit down with someone and have a look at the numbers? So I'm just starting. So these are, I guess, projections, right? I don't know what it's going to be yet. But I want to be a millionaire. So when should that conversation start with an accountant or bookkeeper or someone in your field?
From the very beginning. What I say from the very beginning is that most companies want to have that projection of how they're going to do. And that is not just based on numbers, it's based on other factors such as market conditions and all that, which actually go into the developing those projections as well. So from the very beginning, you want to know if this is a viable business to be in financially. If you wait too late and you start a business and you don't have a clue what is going to happen, or it's not that you're going to accurately predict everything, but those projections are going to help you have an idea of where the business is going to go. So if you don't have a clue of, you just start a business, start taking in revenue, start spending money, it's like you're driving a car with your eyes closed, basically, and you don't want to do that. Yeah.
You don't want to crash.
Yeah, exactly. You want to have a little sight ahead.
Yeah.
You can't see way ahead, but you have a little sight ahead to see where you're actually going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes perfect sense, but time and time again, we see that people, they kind of defer that as long as possible and want to make all of these decisions without fully understanding what the financial ramifications are going to be on their business. So I would agree with you that they should try and figure that out at the start. Okay, I'm starting my business. Let's say we had an initial conversation.
Yep.
And now I'm doing the business. So we're here to talk really about the QuickBooks.
Yes.
And QuickBooks is software, right?
Yes.
Which you utilize to help manage your business. Can you talk to me about the importance of having tools or software to help kind of manage the day-to-day operations of a business?
So tools like QuickBooks or other accounting systems, it really allows you to make data into information that you can help in terms of making decisions. So you can have so much data. You have your bank statements, you have all the invoices that you're issuing to customers, you have the bills that are coming from vendors and that sort of stuff. That's why it's called data. But to make sense of that, you need to have a system like QuickBooks that you can enter this information in, and it really understands the whole accounting process in terms of what is a liability, what is an asset, what is a liability, what is equity, what is income, what is expenses.
You're saying a whole lot of words.
Yeah. Well, those are the main words you hear when you're talking about accounting. And really, QuickBooks helps to consolidate all that data and produce reports that give you information that makes sense.
Right.
Make it make sense.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that to me is key because sometimes I think people get bogged down in the words, right? Income statement, balance sheet. What's the difference between the two? Profit and loss. Like, how do I determine that? And I'm thinking, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that utilizing software like QuickBooks helps. Well, it knows what it is already, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it knows what it is. And one unique thing about QuickBooks is that it actually has the ability to speak on terms that, like, for if you are an accountant in QuickBooks, I think there's a area in settings where you can actually change to speak accounting, and you can switch back so it is more like a business owner who doesn't have an accounting background. It might say, okay, this is what you owe a person. For an accountant, we know that as a liability.
Gotcha.
Right, QuickBooks will say, this is what you owe.
So it changes the language to make it,
Yeah, so it has that language in it for people who have not probably have that background in accounting to understand exactly what it means by a liability or an asset.
That's a cool feature because, again,
I think so.
That's part of I think a lot of people's hesitancy is the terminology, the language. Maybe I won't understand. So if it's giving it to me in words that I can understand, then it makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. It's so helpful for people, just going in to run a report, and they say, what report I want to run? I want to see, an accountant might say, okay, let's run the accounts receivable report, and a person might say, okay, what is accounts receivable? So in QuickBooks, that comes on a section of what do people owe you. Most people understand that. Okay, what do people owe me is accounts receivable.
Right.
So it makes it simple, basically, for people to understand.
So you're going to be facilitating QuickBooks 101.
Yep, I will.
You have done it for us before, or done it with us before, I should say, because it's a partnership. And tell me what QuickBooks 101 is. What are you hoping that people who attend will get out of the course? Okay,
so QuickBooks 101, first and foremost, it is a course that is designed to help you understand QuickBooks as an accounting system, what it can, how it can benefit your business. So we will be focusing on the main modules that are used by every business, and that is the sales and accounts receivable. We put those two together, and then there is the purchases and expenses, which go together as well. And we also go through the banking module. So it shows you how to manage your bank account, how to reconcile it at the end of each period, whether that be a month or even a week. So it really is a course that's designed to help you understand QuickBooks. However, from my past experience, we tend to go into a lot more.
Okay.
Because the last year, I believe it was the last year, one particular session, we sort of got into stuff like payroll tax, which wasn't on the agenda itself, but we were doing a transaction that had in a payroll tax, something to do with payroll tax, and then people started asking questions of payroll tax. So people actually got some, in my opinion, additional information to do with payroll tax. So we, I just don't limit it to just talking about the system and its use. I opened up to help people understand different things about their business, whether it's about payroll tax, whether it's about forecasting as well, because that's not necessarily within QuickBooks, but we tend to talk a lot about stuff like that help people manage their business better.
I mean, that makes sense to me because I think if you can apply it to what it is that you do on a day-to-day basis, it helps it stick. It helps it make more sense, right? So who would you say that should be registering for this course?
So I would say first, people who are looking to go into business, because our advice is that you actually start maintaining an accounting system from day one. as well as people who are already in business and they might or might not have QuickBooks or an accounting system already existing, but they want to get financials. They want to get it to a stage where, okay, I can get monthly reports, quarterly reports, or they might need these reports for a financial institution or BDC themselves. So people like that. And also people who have been using QuickBooks might want a little refresher because the system changes. The software developers put in new things every single year, actually more frequently than that. And we tend to keep up to date with those changes. So some person who wants to benefit from a refresher, they're also some person that would target for this.
So do
course
you
as well.
need to already have QuickBooks installed? Like what does a classroom look like? Are they coming with their laptops? Like what should the person taking the course be prepared to do?
Yeah, so you don't need to have the QuickBooks installed already because what the system I'm going to be using is actually what we call it a demo system that's provided by Intuit that you can use for training purposes.
Okay.
But there are people who already have the system installed. They are welcome to bring their laptops. Again, going back to the last session, people brought their laptops, and while I was going through,
they could
in
follow
the demo,
along.
they actually went into their file and follow along, doing the stuff that I was saying in the dummy system. They were doing that along, so they're welcome to do that.
Well, that's good to know because I think some people might be like, I don't have it, so I'm not going to sign up. But understanding that you are going to be taking them through a demo, I think will allow people to say, okay, even if I don't have QuickBooks, I want to get it, but I don't. I still can learn something and understand what is required of me.
That's right.
So with regard to the actual software, what do you see are some of the challenges or mistakes that people make or business owners make when they're using it and trying to do all the things themselves?
So for one, I think people tend to, especially if they don't have a kind of background, they tend to start using the software blindly in cases where they start using it. And they do things which cause duplications. An example is, okay, people would go, and I've seen this on one occasion where the business owner was entering transactions from the bank using a particular module or a process called write check. And then they were also going in and enter a bill. So they will see a payment to XYZ on the bank statement. So they would enter that as a write check.
Okay.
And then they also have the bill from XYZ. So they would then go in and enter the bill from XYZ. So at the end of the period, they have all of these transactions that they recorded using write check. And then they have all these outstanding bills, which aren't really outstanding because they were paid.
Right.
So we will show you how the correct process is to enter the check and then enter something called a bill payment rather than a write check.
Got you.
Because what they were doing was actually duplicating the expenses in the profit and loss. They were entering it by doing the write check and then entering it by doing the bill again. If you do it the right way, when you enter the bill, it goes into the profit and loss, and then it sets up as a payable. And then when you do the bill pay, that's when the money comes off the bank account. So
the system does all that for you, but you have to enter it in the right way.
Yeah, we got to enter it in the right way. So I think overall that's one of the biggest mistakes I see people making is that they get the subscription, they start using the system, but they don't really understand the different processes and when the appropriate time to use each process.
Got you.
Yep.
So from that standpoint, QuickBooks 101 is definitely going to assist them. So even if you have the software, you feel like I've been doing it all this time, there's nothing wrong with coming and just double checking and making sure, especially if you're not going to hire a firm like yourself or others to assist with that, right? To kind of check and make sure you're doing it correctly.
Yeah.
I think it's really important. I know we do direct lending at BDC, and a lot of times, in order to get funding from us, we do ask for financial statements, just like a bank would or the credit union or anyone where else, because we want to look at the financial viability of the business and what you're trying to do. And in a lot of cases, people just don't have them, right? And so with regards to QuickBooks, does that software help you to prepare financial statements?
Yep, it prepares financial statements for you. So
Okay.
at the end of the day, once you enter all of your transactions properly, there's a module which is actually part of QuickBooks 101 that we go through called reporting. And it's just by the click of a button, 2 clicks, you can get a balance sheet, you can get a profit and loss, you can get a cash flow statement. So you don't have to spend hours in Excel trying to add things up in Excel and put them in the correct location, that sort of stuff. The system actually generates those reports by 2 clicks, and that's it. And,
That sounds lovely.
Yeah, and that's the information that you can send directly to the bank or
Yeah.
the BDC, whoever is the financial institution you're using.
So in my former life, when I used to meet with clients and help them to develop their business plans, and when they were preparing to request financing from us, we would be, okay, you have to do the cash flow. And I remember that Excel spreadsheet and going line by line, making sure it adds up at the end. So the idea that you can utilize this software and, like you said, 2 clicks, come up with that already, to me, it's like, why wouldn't everybody do this? But occasionally you see people that are still trying to do it manually. What would you say to the person that maybe they're averse to technology? Because and maybe that's what's prohibited them from, getting the software and utilizing the software.
Well, what I would say is that, okay, you're averse to technology, but are you adverse to stress? Because not using QuickBooks is going to stress you out. QuickBooks is going to reduce the stress level in terms of getting these things together. It's going to make it so much easier than trying to do it manually in Excel. Mind you, I use Excel for some things, but for accounting, I would say you need QuickBooks or an accounting system. But in this case, we're talking about QuickBooks. You need an accounting software that is purposely built to make your life easier when it comes to financial reporting.
So I know that you can get, I don't even know if you can anymore, but they used to have like an actual disc where you plugged into your computer. But what version of the software do you use, and what version of the software are you going to be going over with registrants?
Right. So that disc, I must say, that disc doesn't actually exist anymore.
Okay.
So Intuit.
That's how old I am. Oh my God. Okay.
So Intuit, who are the developers of QuickBooks, they have developed 2 versions. So it's the desktop version and the cloud version, which is QuickBooks Online.
Yes.
We still have a lot of clients who are using the desktop version for obvious reasons. There's a lovely payroll module in the desktop version that works well here in Bermuda. But the version that we are looking at is QuickBooks Online, which is a cloud-based version. So you don't need a disk. All you need to sign up is a credit card. And you go on their website and you select which geographical location you're in. So it would automatically push you to Intuit International or QuickBooks International version, and you can sign up for a subscription. There are different levels of subscription based on what the business need.
Which level would you say, if I'm just a startup, I'm starting out, would you recommend?
Most people go with Plus. So
Okay.
Plus is like the mid. So there's Essentials, Plus, and Advanced.
Okay.
Advanced gives you everything, and it also gives you the ability to have multiple users and be able to set up I think the chart of accounts is unlimited.
Okay.
Essentials give you the bare basics to get started with and the modules that you need. Plus is like middle between Essentials and Advanced, and most people go with Advanced. Actually, when you go on to sign up, I believe you'll see like a recommended tab over Plus, because most people use Plus as a start.
Okay.
Yeah.
And talk to me about why QuickBooks Online might be a better option than the desktop version.
So for one is that is easily accessible anywhere once you have an internet connection is from a browser. The other one, and let me say I love QuickBooks Desktop as well, so I don't want people to get the impression that I don't like desktop. I love desktop. I think it has its advantages, but where we are going in regards to technology, the online version has a lot more capabilities of allowing processes to be automated. Is able to integrate with a lot more apps, accounts payable apps, in terms of bank feeds. Actually, it doesn't work with all the banks here in Bermuda. I think it's still something that we're working on to see how we can get the live bank feeds. That is the information from your bank account pushed directly into QuickBooks.
Into QuickBooks, that would be great.
The online version allows that.
Okay.
Because it's cloud based. The desktop version does not.
Okay.
Basically, so that's where the advantages, and I think, is in regards to where we're going as an industry. You're using a lot more technology, automation, that sort of stuff, and the cloud-based version is more suited for that.
So, I mean, I can speak personally. I know someone way back when, because I've already dated myself. When they had the plug-in, the little CD thing.
Yeah, the disc.
The disc.
Floppy disk.
Okay, now you're doing too much.
There's a little too far back.
But I do remember that.
Yeah.
No, it got corrupted. And so they lost like all of this historical data, and it was just a horrible scenario. So I can see why you would want to have it online, because your computer gets broken or something gets stolen. You still can access that data because it is in the cloud. And then I think also, as a solopreneur or entrepreneur, and it's just you, at some point you got to take a vacation, or you might have to leave or something, and you are able to retrieve that important data wherever you go, like you said, as long as you have an internet connection and your login information. Which I think, I mean, it makes sense to me, right?
Yeah, it definitely does. And one other thing that I just remembered now that you mentioned that, being on the go. With online, it also allows you to have an app on your phone. So, for example, a busy person, let's say a contractor or some person who's out there on the go multiple times, and they get an invoice while they're out on the road, they can actually take a picture of that invoice and push it directly into QuickBooks from their phone.
Yeah, I heard that. That's fancy.
So I think with those sort of capabilities, that is where desktop is not as strong as the online version.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's great. So when you're thinking of, I had a client who owned a water truck, and he was like all into tech. He was doing invoicing and all of that from his truck, which I think is huge, because, and we're talking about accounts receivables, right? So the soon as you can get your money, you know, the better. And cash so flow. That ability to be able to, like you said, invoice right from where you are, so that you can get your money, I think is huge, and can go a long way to helping the sustainability and health of a business, right?
That's cash flow right there, and that's the crux of a business is cash flow. Business can't survive unless they have that cash flow, and as you said, the quicker you can get that invoice out there, the probability you're going to get paid quicker is increased tremendously.
Okay, well, see, look, I'm sold. I don't even have a business anymore, but I understand the importance of it, and I think you know, people should recognize the importance of it as well, and take the leap. Like, don't let the fact that, oh, I don't know about this, stop you from understanding it, because it is going to be key to the success of your business. I mean, there's been businesses that have been in business here in Bermuda years, like 20, 30 years. They don't have like financial statements.
Shocking, right?
Like, you're like, how in the world? But only in Bermuda, I think, because in some instances, we're still small, right? Like you said, people still go and stand in line in the bank, and there are a lot of things that just don't interface with the bank. And so you're used to it. You've been doing it all these years. But like you said, you want to decrease your stress.
Yeah, it is.
Go ahead.
And it's acceptable here in Bermuda as well, because we don't have not that we don't have a robust tax system, but our tax system is kind of simplistic compared to other jurisdictions, in that they have corporation tax and that sort of stuff. So in order for you to file corporation tax and that stuff accurately, you need financials. So that is why most other jurisdictions are forced to get on the account system, get their financials straight, get their reports straight, that they can accurately calculate that tax liability.
Listen, I am a fan. So when is it happening? And Well, people can register on our website at bdc.bm, but when is the course happening? And it's 4 weeks, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the course, I believe the exact dates is the first Tuesday in June.
Okay.
And it's going to run from 4 weeks from then. I believe that is June 4th, is it?
Let me see.
And in terms of the time of day, so we'll be starting from 6 p.m. and each day is scheduled to be 2 hours. But as I said, most nights, probably I would say we go between 2 to 3 hours because there are questions that people have, and I definitely don't mind staying on a little longer just to answer questions and get people.
Yeah, to help people understand, because it's about the software and how to use it. But for those who may not have used it, that you still want to kind of get an understanding about what to expect. So June 4th is the Wednesday.
Yeah, so it's June 10th is actually the start of the course.
Okay,
it's
so
the
that's
first Tuesday, and they'll run for 4 weeks.
Okay, so June 10th for 4 weeks.
Yes.
You can log on to bedc.bm to sign up for it.
Yep.
And I definitely think that it's something that people can get a refresher on. Those who are not using QuickBooks should consider using it for the reasons stated. And then in addition, you have offered to answer any other questions around financials and things like that, because you, like what you say, 20 years experience?
Yep, 20 years almost. I can't believe I say that now, but yeah, it's over 20 years I've been doing this accounting thing.
Yeah. So you know what you're talking about. You're getting an expert.
I think so.
When you get Lennox. No, I'm really grateful that you've partnered with us to deliver it, because in the past we would utilize internal team to do it who have accounting background, but I think this is what you do every day, all day.
Correct.
And you have the experience working with different businesses and different industries, which I think can only add to the information that you're going to be sharing. Right?
Yeah, definitely. And in a case where what we're also trying to do internally with Abacus is to spread it across the team as well.
Okay.
So I might actually have one of my other team members shadowing me so that they're preparing him for future collaborations in terms of presenting the course as well.
Okay, that would be great. I mean, the more the merrier, I think.
Yeah.
Because right now, this is the only class that we have scheduled, but if there's interest, then we will do more, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Right?
We'll do more. We'll be here. Yeah. Might not be me, but as I said,
it'll be somebody else, right?
Abacus, yes.
So just to remind everyone, Tuesday, June 10th, and the course is delivered in the evening.
Yes.
It will be at our training room at BEDC, which is on Church Street. All of that information is on the website at bedc.bm. There is a cost, but I think you pay, but you get your return on your investment.
Yeah, I definitely think the cost is minimal. If you think about what you're going to get and how you're going to be using the system going forward to benefit your business, it is a small investment for a huge return.
Yes, and a necessary one at that.
Yes, it is necessary. Absolutely necessary.
Well, listen, thank you for coming back, Lennox, to talk about QuickBooks 101. We have minded our business, I think. I've learned a little something. There is no more discs.
Yep, no more discs.
But no, I really do appreciate you sharing your knowledge with us today, and I'm sure that those who sign up will benefit from that as well. So thank you again.
Yes, thank you. It was a pleasure being here.
Thank you. And look, I have to say my tagline, right? You know the tagline? Do you remember it?
Yeah, I think I remember it.
If you don't mind your business,
who will?
That's right.
See, I knew it.
Thanks for tuning in to Mind Your Business with me, your host, Jamillah Lodge. Tune in next week, Thursday at 4 p.m. because if you don't mind your business, who will? Mind Your Business is brought to you by BEDC. Bermuda Business starts here.